Hello, Crystal Palace, and welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Live Lunch. This is a place to share positive and local information and find out about the wonderful community in greater depth and try to keep us all connected during this time. Today, we are joined by Xavier Armani, who is the project leader of Pro Baristas, a part of the One Church charity. Do you want to say hello, Xavier?
Hello.
Hi. So do you want to explain to us what it is you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm head trainer for Pro Baristas. We are the UK's largest barista training school. So we teach people how to make coffee, and we also try and get them into work as well and help journey with them after they complete any one of the numerous courses that we run.
And how did you get into the world of baristas coffee?
Well, I was a student myself, actually, a good 5 years ago now, something like that. I was home educated before that, so I never went into any sort of formal education, and I was already pursuing a career in filmmaking, independent filmmaking, and making promotional movies for charities and other things like that. And the opportunity arose for me to do this barista apprenticeship that we were running at the time, which was a year of training and work at the same time. And I figured I'd do that and then get back to my filmmaking, get some experience, and I could potentially take the certificates that I got and the experience that I got and travel or do whatever I wanted with it. So I did that for a year, worked at a place called Silo, which was the UK's first zero waste restaurant and coffee shop, which is pretty cool. Some great experience there. And I was so amazed by the change that I went on in that year, so inspired by that I decided to help other people in that journey as well. Obviously, I learned a lot of coffee skills and learned a lot about coffee, but softer skills as well, communication skills and confidence and self-esteem and things like that, your core competencies that I really got a lot from in that year. And I was so amazed by that I got all this other stuff just from learning about coffee and being with people around coffee, that I wanted to share that experience with other people. So it was about 2 or 3 months after I finished the apprenticeship that I started working for the church, volunteering actually for the first year or so, and trying to fundraise for my own position. And then since then, I've not looked back.
That's quite, you did it quite quickly, if you did that in 3 months.
Yeah, very quickly.
And when you say, because with like barista training, you can travel the world with that and be hired anywhere. Have you managed to do any traveling? Obviously not now, we've got some restrictions, but
not outside of the country, although we have trained a handful of people that have definitely taken on that role of the traveling barista, and they go to lots of different countries and cater for lots of different events and take their skills elsewhere. A couple of people that work on cruises as well, and that's their whole career, is traveling on cruises and making coffee for those. So you definitely you can take it with you.
And so you say you started you came from filmmaking, but sounds like you have a strand of community work and like engagement. Is that an ethos? Is that like the aim?
Yeah, it is a little bit. I think it's largely how I was brought up. I think for me, it's also been quite a big part of my faith. In my mind, that's quite an important part of at least my Christian faith. But also my parents as role models as well. They both work in the third sector. My father runs something called In-House Records, which is the first record label that functions in prisons and is essentially pretty much all run by prisoners. And yeah, he's been doing plenty of other third sector stuff for years and years. So that was very much the environment that I was brought up in. And so some sort of third sector trajectory seemed like quite a natural thing for me.
Helping people.
Sure. Yeah.
And what effect has the lockdown had on everything that you do?
Yeah, huge effect. When it was first implemented, we basically had to shut everything down, and I was furloughed for 3 or 4 months, which was pretty painful and pretty tricky actually, because we work with a lot of people that really rely on the regular connections and community that we were able to generate and hold for them. And even now, some of those things we've not been able to bring back yet either. So that was pretty tough, although we've been back for a few weeks now, and we're back in the thick of running a lot of training courses like we were doing before, and even more. And we're seeing different opportunities arising in the industry as well. So there are some positives to take from it. But generally speaking, it's pretty challenging, and a lot of places have staff still on furlough or had to make some really big cutbacks for their general staffing, obviously because of distancing and yeah, just keeping up with the times.
Were you able to keep up any of the kind of communication or connection with the people? Did you take it, like a lot of people have taken it online, or like,
yeah,
groups? And
yeah, definitely. Did a few different things. We set up a little bit of an online classroom where people could, I set some tasks for people and they could complete them at home and then share them and talk about them on the, I think it was Google Classroom that I used, but also Instagram, a lot of that. Used hashtag quarantine coffee and got everyone to send in their coffees that they were making on a pretty daily basis and include all the information that they used. So where the coffee was from, what region it was, what processing it was, the recipe that they used, the brewing method they used, that kind of thing. And that was quite a nice little way of bringing the community together and still seeing what other people are doing and engaging in coffee and having a little bit of chat around that. So yeah, we did need to bring things online quite a bit.
That's it's quite a solid hashtag, quarantine coffee. Did you find like then engaging with people from America or just other places, or was it quite local?
It was pretty local. I think to begin with it was barely used at all, and then by the time that we finished it, it sort of went from nothing to way too big for us to use pretty quickly. But it was good because it at least brought together our community and the Brighton community as well. So that was good.
And what would you say was, so we'll do like the biggest challenge and then the biggest positive that has come out of the other side of lockdown and quarantine?
Yeah. The biggest challenge is probably staffing and getting people into work, which wasn't necessarily a prerequisite for us. Plenty of people that would do the course weren't work ready, and it wasn't even on our radar or not interested in going into work afterwards. But equally, we would get a lot of people into work as well. And the amount of coffee shops hiring now has obviously gone much further down than what it used to be. So that's been quite a big challenge, really. I think one of the bigger positive impacts is a wider appreciation for just giving people time to have conversations and to listen to people. I think as a society being deprived of that for however long throughout lockdown and people being alone, really opened people's eyes up to what the benefits of having a really good, strong community really can have on people, and how that can really positively affect people's mental health and mental well-being. And yeah, I think just that growing awareness has been something that's been really helpful for us, because that's such a big part of our service offering. And it's quite a hard thing to quantify and to measure, bringing people together and seeing the positive output that that generates is often really hard to quantify and to measure, and sometimes even to justify. But it seems that over the last few months, there's been, because we've been deprived, there's just been much of a greater general acceptance and appreciation for human conversations and relationships, and the positive impact that can have on us as individuals and as humans.
What was it like the first time you like came back into work and like saw everyone again? And was it, I know there's obviously restrictions, but I know when I first saw people I work with, there was just that feeling of like elation and like, oh, like humans.
Yeah, definitely. It's been pretty weird, but also pretty good. I think especially my moment like that was more when I got to see some of the students and beneficiaries that we work with, that I know have had a particularly tough time in isolation. Maybe they don't have anyone else, or maybe it's just been a particularly rough few months for them individually. So to be able to see them and sit down and listen to them and have conversations with them has been really great for me as well.
Let me just say hello to Rosanna, Steve, and Mary who are watching. And so, Xavier, what is what you're currently able to do, and how do you see yourself kind of going forward with everything?
Yeah, cool. So the really big thing that's changed about our service offering is that we've cut the drop-in sessions that we used to do. We used to have a free, well, in fact, 3 days a week, we do completely free drop-in sessions where people could just walk past and come by. And that was also the first thing that I set up 5 years ago. That was the thing that I particularly brought to Pro Baristas and changed, and ended up being wildly successful and engaging hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. And either just helping them in that space, or channeling them through the drop-ins to other courses and to other journeys and pathways in their lives. A space where people could come together and make coffee, but also drink coffee and chat as well. And you get all of those sort of gentle, soft skill improvements over longer stretches of time, with people regularly plugging into that safe community. That the idea of basically unallocated number of random people coming in off the street and drinking out of coffee cups together is basically completely impossible in this current climate. So for now, we've completely stopped running all of those drop-in sessions, and we've fallen back on our doubled down really on our SCA foundation courses, which is the sort of intro building block courses to getting into coffee and coffee work, and all the basics of that. So it's a lot more formalized courses, and we've shrunk the cohorts right down from a dozen or so to closer to 4, to allow for proper spacing and things like that. So we're doing a lot of those courses, foundation courses, but we're doing even more advanced courses as well, and courses from different modules. And that's been quite nice for us to be able to focus on quite specific things with people that specifically want to work on those things, as opposed to everyone jumbling together in the drop-ins, which was always a really nice atmosphere, but maybe not the ideal learning environment for people that want to focus on very advanced barista skill techniques. So yeah, that's what we're doing most of the time now, while still thinking about doing some sort of free practicing session as well later on.
What was it like having to like double down? Was it like a process of selection, or were you able to, like, the people withdrew, so you were able to just go forth with that amount? Because it's quite a lot to going from like 12 to 4.
Yeah, it was more out of necessity, really. People are always going to be drinking coffee, and people are still going to need to be hiring baristas, and only more and more. So it's still a really in-demand skill and certification to have, especially because you can take it with you wherever you go. So the demand for training was still really, really high. And yeah, we've largely been reacting to new inquiries and new people coming in, but also listening to the community of people that we've been working with already in the past, and hearing what they want to focus on and what things would interest them as well, and trying as much as we can to cater to those things as well.
Because you've been doing it for 5 years now, would you say you're a bit of a coffee connoisseur? Do you have a favorite type of coffee, or is it more about the process and the what you can give to people and how you can empower people? Like, do you have a love of coffee, or is it more the love of what it does for people?
Yeah, I before I did the apprenticeship myself, I disliked coffee and didn't ever drink it. And over that year, ended up liking it, but I was still very much driven by that sort of helping people mentality. That was the bigger drive. And yeah, over the last few years doing all of this stuff, I definitely have developed a great passion for coffee and tasty coffee. Yeah, and I can spend hours geeking out over crazy little scientific experiments over what coffee tastes better than what other coffee.
Oh, tell us, you got to tell us about a scientific experiment that you've done, or that you know of.
Yeah, well, there's plenty. You'd be surprised. I think for me, one of the most interesting ones is a water experiment. You don't really think about how important water is in making coffee, but it's about 99% of what you're drinking when you're drinking a cup of coffee. And it will have a huge effect on how your coffee will taste and how it will brew as well. So we sometimes do an experiment where we line up 10 coffees that are all exactly the same and brewed the exact same way. And the only variable that's changed is the water that we use. We might have tap water and filtered water and Volvic and Evian and distilled water and whatever, a whole bunch of them. And you can taste the difference between them, and they're wildly different, ranging from almost undrinkable to very delicious. And it's just such a clear, tangible one that everyone can taste the difference in. And it's such a simple thing that you're changing. So I always like doing that one.
Now I'm thinking, should I be using tap water? Should I be using Evian in my coffee?
Well, you can do a little tiny little experiment yourself. Just you can if you have a filter, then use that, or just buy a bottle of water at the store and make 2 coffees. Make one with that water and one with tap water, and you will be able to taste the difference. You can pick which one you like.
Have you found that kind of doing these experiments also helps with the kind of community connection and bringing people together, because you're putting like a fun element into what is kind of like an upskilling job scenario, and then suddenly you can be like, okay, let's test some temperatures, some water.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's always really nice to be able to pull out a little sensory exercise, or maybe a latte art pouring contest, just to bring people together a little bit, or even a blindfolded latte art contest. That's another fun one. Pretty messy though.
What's the craziest thing you can create with a latte? Yeah.
I'm not very good, so I can only just do like a few hearts or something like that. But you can go online and there's some incredible stuff, and there are world competitions for that. You can win thousands of pounds. In fact, that can be your full-time job. It's just being a latte art competitor professionally. You can win £5,000, and if you do a few of those a year, then you're set. And it's just pouring milk into coffee, and that's your whole job. The world barista latte art champion from last year drew a pattern called Deer Looking Back, and it is exactly that. It's a deer looking back at some plants, and he did that just by pouring milk into coffee, and it's quite amazing. You can look that up.
Without even using like a toothpick?
No stenciling. No, stenciling is cheating. Free pour.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Some good stuff up.
So if people wanted to get in touch or get involved, is it specific to the One Church charity, or is it a kind of UK-wide program, Pro Baristas?
Yeah, no, we are currently only operating in Brighton, or around the Brighton area. But yeah, if there's anyone that's ever interested, then if you're local, then come by, or if not, just email info@probaristas.com, and we'll happily accommodate. Yeah, whatever.
And you can learn some science and coffee at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Xavier.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Right, guys. So tonight we have the Covers Cafe at 8 p.m. live from the library. It will be on this Facebook channel, so make sure that you tune in. And also this Sunday we have something very exciting, which is Finding Wonderland. It's a show you have to watch to find out what it will be. It's free to watch, but you do have to book. So you can do that on the library website, and it will be at 6 o'clock on Sunday. And it's a family affair, so it'd be nice to do after you have your roast dinner or something. And if you'd like to be on this show, the Library Live Lunch, then please get in touch. The email should be in the comments section down here. And we also have the All Alone Together project happening at the Library Hub, which is about how we have all experienced lockdown apart, but how it's brought us together in many ways. And also, if you have any tech issues, we're here to help. The Clear Community Web is here to help. The information should be here as well. So if you need help with Zoom, or if you want to live stream, or anything you can imagine, then I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. And importantly, if you would like to donate to the library, there should be a donation box here, this side. Rin's like that way. Yeah, please do. The information will be in the comment section as well, but anything helps, and it can keep the library going, doing all the good things. Thank you again, Xavier, and see you guys on Monday.